Tonight on The Buzz, we are looking at drones. Nothing has revolutionized filming quite like drones. They enable us to get shots that were impossible before. Tonight, we start with DJI, a market-leading manufacturer of drones with a wide range of products. Patrick Santucci, the product PR manager for DJI, shares his thoughts about picking the best drone, then flying it safely. Next, when you crash your new drone on its first takeoff, you've just lost thousands of dollars. Little Arms Studio has a better way, a drone flight simulator. Tonight, Cory, Acey, the business development manager, explains Zephyr, their new training simulator for drones. Next, Aerobo shoots professional drone footage for clients who need something special. Tonight, Brian Streem, the CEO of Aerobo Drone Services, talks about their new product to help non-drone pilots visualize the shots they need. Next, Pond 5 is known for their vast library of royalty-free stock footage. Recently, they created an all-new section exclusively devoted to drone footage. Plus, they're flagging that footage so we can easily see which media was shot by licensed drone operators. Tonight, we talk with Teichman, CEO of Pond 5, about why they are doing this. Plus, James DeRuvo with our weekly doddleNEWS update. The Buzz starts now.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative.
One show serves a worldwide network of media professionals.
Current.
Uniting industry experts.
Production.
Filmmakers.
Post-production.
And content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
Welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for the creative content industry, covering media production, post-production, and marketing around the world. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. Tonight, we're talking drones. I came face-to-face with my first drone back in 2015 as we featured them in one of my weekly webinars. Since then, James DeRuvo and I have talked about them several times each month because he is fascinated by them. So I've always been interested, but never knew a lot about them. This was one of the driving forces behind this week's show. I wanted to take a closer look at this new imaging technology, not just for the people who want to fly drones, but the filmmakers who want to use licensed drone footage in their projects. I think you're going to enjoy these interviews. By the way, if you enjoy The Buzz, please give us a positive rating and review in the iTunes store. We appreciate your support to help us grow our audience. And now it's time for our doddleNEWS update with James DeRuvo. Hello, James.
And as always, happy Thursday, Larry.
A happy Thursday to you as well. What do we got leading the news this week?
We have a brand new processor from Intel. It's called the Core X, and it was designed for high-performance content creation and hardcore gaming. It's based on the 9th generation Cannon Lake processor. It's designed for post-production workflows like 8K and virtual reality, has 8 to 18 cores and up to 36 threads, and nearly 25 megabytes of Intel Smart Cache. Capable of speeds around 3 to 3.5 gigahertz with a boost of 4.5 gigahertz using Intel's Turbo Boost software in a single core operation.
It seems like we've been stuck at this 3 gigahertz CPU speed level for a while. It sounds like CPU speed isn't the key measure we need to pay attention to when picking a CPU. Is that true?
The thing is that Moore's law, that's the law that states that transistors can become exponentially more powerful and faster every 18 months. Well, a few years ago, chip makers literally ran into a brick wall. That's when we got stuck at around 2.5 to 3.5 gigahertz. And so now it seems that barring any breakthrough, that's about as fast as a processor is going to get, which is why a computer has multiple cores and why this one has 8 to 18 cores. But here's the irony. The more cores you use, the slower your computer gets. So Intel has managed to find a way around this with their Smart Core technology, which enables them to use the 2 fastest cores and assign your workflow into those cores to get the job done.
Did Intel announce a ship date?
The Core X processors will be shipping in November, and I believe the consumer-grade Core version will be shipping in December.
Okay, that's Intel. What's our second story?
We posit the question whether or not XQD media cards are going to be able to survive in an 8K future. It was only a year ago that there was one company making XQD cards after Lexar went belly up. Now there are three of them. Lexar's returned, Nikon's making their own, and Sony is putting them together. Plus there's some other third-tier makers like Delkin Devices that also make XQD cards. The problem is that XQD suffers from a lack of standardization, and you can have anywhere from 5 different card versions depending upon where you buy them. So if you're out in the field and you're doing some shooting and your card goes belly up and your other cards are lost or stolen and you need to go send a PA to buy one, who knows if he's going to get the right card that's going to be able to be read by your card reader. So that's one of the major problems. And Sony is looks like they're phasing out their own XQD in favor of SD cards and the new Compact Flash Express.
Well, Sony notwithstanding, it sounds like the big issue here is the lack of standardization.
Indeed. Like I said, there's up to 5 different cards. Here's the weird part. The most current one is, if I memory serves me, the most current one is H, but it goes all the way up to S. And so it's very confusing at the kind of card. So you have to make sure you get the right card for your card reader. Otherwise, I think that's the reason why ProGrade decided just to stay out of XQD altogether. It's a problem, but there's hope because Sony may be moving towards Compact Flash Express. And the good news is Compact Flash Express is not only faster and has a standardized design, but with a simple firmware update, it can be used in an XQD-supported camera. So while XQD is currently enjoying a renaissance, it may prove to be a short-lived one.
All right, you've covered chips and cards. What's our third story?
The government now has the authority to shoot down your drone. It's a provision in the new FAA Reauthorization Act that was just signed by the White House that gives government law enforcement agencies the authority to disrupt, control, disable, intercept, interfere with, seize, exercise control of, and maybe even shoot down an unmanned aerial aircraft system or drone if need be, if it provides a credible threat. The provision isn't limited just to law enforcement or the military either. The provision pretty much grants any federal agency the authority to shoot down a drone. And on top of that, the FAA can levy fines of up to $22,000 to any drone pilot who operates a drone in restricted airspace, particularly in the areas of wildfire suppression, law enforcement, or emergency response.
Well, since we're covering drones in tonight's show, this is especially timely. What are your thoughts on this new authority?
To be honest, I had mixed emotions about this provision. I saw a video of a recent test where the FAA shot a DJI Phantom drone at an airplane wing at 250 miles an hour, and the drone went deep into the wing and did massive damage to the internal workings of the airplane wing. So I understand why they are concerned, because a drone can be a powerful weapon in the hands of terrorists seeking to wreak havoc. But on the other hand, the provision in the law is incredibly broad, and the fact that any federal agency now has the power is extremely troublesome. Can you imagine a postal worker being able to shoot down your drone? I guess it really comes down to what threats the government decides are credible before they shoot your drone down. Citizens, on the other hand, they don't have that freedom. If you are annoyed by a drone that's flying around your house and you shoot it down, it can be a federal offense.
Very interesting. James, what other stories are you following this week?
Other stories we're following, I reviewed Dave Basuto's new Iographer multi-case for mobile filmmaking, and it may be the last camera cage your smartphones will ever need. We asked the question, can a video tripod with a hi-hat design really be good if it's under $100? And we offer tips for buying your first camera. That's what we're working on tonight. I'm looking forward to the drone show.
Tonight, it is all about drones. We're talking with manufacturers, trainers, flyers, and resellers, and it is a fascinating show.
Oh, drones are so much fun. I can't wait to hear what they have to say about the future.
Looking forward to it myself. And thinking about the future, where can we go on the web to learn about these and all the other stories you're covering this week?
All these stories and more can be found at doddleNEWS.com, DODDLENEWS.com.
And James DeRuvo is the editor-in-chief of Doddle News and joins us every week. I'll talk to you next Thursday.
Have a good weekend.
Here's another website I want to introduce you to, doddleNEWS.com. Doddle News gives you a portal into the broadcast, video, and film industries. It's a leading online resource presenting news, reviews, and products for the film and video industry. Doddle News also offers a resource guide and crew management platform specifically designed for production. These digital call sheets, along with their app, directory, and premium listings, provide in-depth organizational tools for busy production professionals. Doddle News is a part of the Thalo Arts community, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with resources you need to succeed. Whether you want the latest industry news, need to network with other creative professionals, or require state-of-the-art online tools to manage your next project, there's only one place to go, doddleNEWS.com. Patrick Santucci is the product PR manager for DJI for both consumer and professional products. This includes Mavic drones, Osmo Mobile 2 phone stabilizers, Ronin systems, Inspire 2 drones, and ZenMuse X7 products. Hello, Patrick. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Patrick, tonight we are looking at drones for filmmakers. How would you describe a drone?
Our platforms, they're quadcopters, so 4 blades. And they vary from consumer selfie drones almost to high-end filmmaking drones.
What's the difference between a consumer drone and a professional drone?
If we look at one of our products called the Spark, it's a small consumer drone. It has a pretty small sensor. It's a 1/2.3-inch sensor. You can operate with your hand gestures. So these are more ideal for people just getting into drone technology. They're small, they're sturdy, they're great to learn on. But then as you move upwards in our systems, you hit products like the Mavic series, which has larger sensor now, the Phantom series, which has a 1-inch sensor, so better image quality. And then we move all the way up to the Inspire 2 ZenMuse series, which is a Super 35 sensor. And then we can even go higher than that and look at our M600 Pro, which is capable of lifting heavy cinema rigs.
Now, my understanding, and I have not been paying attention to drones as much as I should, but my understanding is that a drone is an aircraft that you attach a camera to. It sounds like you are now including the camera as part of the drone.
Yes, for some time now, when the technology was first coming out, it was just the drone platform itself, and then people were jerry-rigging cameras onto them. For some time now, though, DJI has been adding its own camera systems to the drone. So when you go to the store or you go online and you purchase the product, it's almost guaranteed it's going to come with a camera. Some of the exceptions are the M600 system, which is used to lift cinema rigs, so that doesn't have a dedicated camera system.
Religious wars are fought over codecs and video formats. Are we able to choose different codecs or video formats, or how do you guys shoot your video?
Well, it really depends on the product. So if you look at the ZenMuse X7, we launched a partnership with Apple where we have Apple ProRes RAW as an option for this guy.
What criteria should we use to pick the best drone for our project or ourselves?
It really depends on the project that you're working on. If you're looking to really integrate aerial footage into a high production, shoot. So if you're using like REs and you're looking to add in aerial shots, we've taken great care to implement like the ZenMuse X7 into intermingling the footage so that it looks similar. And it's not going to stand out as in different colors or the resolution is not as good. So it really depends. If you're looking for something more run and gun, we know a lot of people that use, for instance, the Phantom series, and it's 1-inch sensor, and something like that works for them. Lately, we've been really trying to make the drones a little bit more compact. and portable. We're seeing a lot of like travel filmmakers. So even a Mavic Air, which is a very portable drone, has a small sensor, but it'll shoot 4K. Or even the new Mavic systems that came out just recently in the last few months. We have two versions. One has a 1-inch sensor for improved image quality, and one has an actual zoom function for establishing shots, and it's very versatile. And we have pretty much a drone that'll fit every category that you're working with.
But it gets me back to what criteria we should use. Because there are so many options, do you give us something on the website that helps us narrow down the choice?
Absolutely, yeah. On our website, you can pretty much go through every bit of technical information that you could need when you're researching this for your production. But again, it really depends on what project you're working on and what the image quality needs are, what type of flight time you need, and how you're integrating that into your production.
One of the big challenges with anything that moves is we've got to stabilize the image. Mm-hmm. Do all drones have image stabilizers, or is that an extra cost option?
So our drones all use a mechanical gimbal. It's something of a specialty of ours. For the most part, it's a 3-axis gimbal. And again, most people think of DJI, they think of drones, but you should also consider the gimbals that we put on the drones. It is something we have a great deal of experience with, and it's something we've been implementing into ground solutions as well. So if you take a step back from the drones and you look at our new Pro stuff, so we have the Ronin S, which is a single-handed stabilizer. It's a 3-axis mechanical gimbal, or even the Ronin 2, which is a dual-handed system for heavy rigs.
Because you have so many different drones to choose from, it's impossible to have a single answer to this question, but from a consumer point of view, what range of prices are we looking at? And from a professional point of view, for drones that include cameras, what range of prices there?
So for consumers, we're looking anywhere between $300 to $800. For instance, the Spark, which is one of our older products, but it's a great learning tool. That one retails for about $400 right now. But then you could take a step up to the Mavic Air, which is around $800. So for the professional line, though, you're looking from the $1,200 to $10,000 range, and maybe a little bit more. $1,200 being the newest Mavic 2 Zoom, which has 1/2.3-inch sensor, but again, that zooming function is really, really interesting. But then that can actually step all the way up to the Inspire 2 and Zen Muse X7, which is a Super 35 interchangeable camera system. That guy will shoot 6K, and for a full package of the drone and camera and lenses, it's about $10,000.
What are your most popular drones right now?
The Mavic 2, which came out at the end of August, is definitely our highlight. And then the Mavic Air, which came out in January, I believe, that's a very popular one as well.
What are the rules for flying a drone in the U.S.? Must every drone operator be licensed?
It depends. If you're using it for commercial work, so for instance, if someone is hiring you to shoot aerial footage of their, vineyard, for instance, that would require a Part 107 license, and that's a FAA test. It's a 60-question multiple choice test. There are also different rules in terms of, how high you can go, when you can fly. So you're not supposed to go above 400 feet. You can launch 1 hour before sunrise and 1 hour before sunset and fly in that time period. But you cannot fly at night unless you have a special waiver for it. So you really need to research your state, too, in terms of what type of regulations they're implementing. But there are some good resources out there. So, for instance, a Before You Fly app will help you see if there's any specific rules. For instance, when we fly in New York, it's a bit tricky in New York because of the regulations and then all the airports around us. But there are some spots we can fly, but we always have to check to make sure there's no presidential flyover or anything like that, because then you're not allowed to fly. But Before You Fly app, that's a great resource to check before you take off.
Last week, we reported that the FAA has cleared drone companies like DJI to approve flights in no-fly zones. What does this mean?
As a company, we really try to keep people out of trouble. What we do is we add a lot of safety features that are built into the drone and the application itself. For instance, if you're within a 5-mile range of an airport, the drone will not take off. Or if you try and fly in that range, the drone will stop. We set the limit to 400 feet already built into the app. You can go in to change that at your will. But these are steps we're trying to take because the technology is so new. We really want to help people, stay out of trouble. That new clearance system allows people working on projects within that 5-mile range of an airport to take off at low altitudes as long as they're not in a direct flight path. And then DJI works to unlock the drone, essentially, because it will not take off unless you have proper permission.
Is that unlock in real time, or do we need to contact you several days ahead of time?
Right now, it's in real time. A few years ago, it was ahead of time, but now our flow is real time.
You recently entered into a partnership with Pond 5 to bring awareness to safe flying. What did you do in that partnership?
With Pond 5, when you're looking to purchase aerial content for a production or for a commercial or whatever, this partnership guarantees that the footage that you purchase through Pond 5 was shot legally with a DJI drone, but more importantly, it was shot legally. So this way, you know that you aren't going to be contacted at some point saying this footage that you're using is illegal, because that's a big issue. So this partnership is pretty cool and it's important because now people purchasing this content know for sure that they're safe and that they're not going to be penalized later on.
We're going to talk with the president of Pond 5 a little later in this podcast, so I'll follow up with him more about this new Pond 5 relationship. There's a lot of privacy concerns around drone flying. What do we as media creators need to keep in mind when we're using drone footage in our projects?
It's being really respectful to where you are and who's included in the content. Really trying to follow the regulations too. So like I mentioned some regulations before, like the height, but also like no flying over people, no flying at night, but understanding that, this is new technology and some people are still, a bit weary about it since it's so new. Slowly we're changing minds, showing all the great use cases, but just being cognizant of people and their emotions toward this technology.
There's so much that we can talk about, Patrick. We'll invite you back again to continue talking about drones. But for people that want more information about the products and services that DJI offers, where can they go on the web?
It's DJI.com.
That's easy enough to remember, DJI.com. And Patrick Santucci is the product PR manager for both consumer and professional drones. Patrick, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cory Acey is the business development manager for Little Arms Studios. His job includes strategic partnerships, product feature requests, community outreach, finance and accounting, and building relationships with partners. Hello, Cory. Welcome.
Hi, Larry. Thanks for having me today.
How would you describe Little Arms Studios?
So Little Arms Studios is a software development company based out of Manassas, Virginia. We primarily focus on accurate and physics simulation products. We have two different products that we currently have available. One is Zephyr Drone Simulator, which we'll be talking about for most of this interview. And the other one is IVIS, which we call our Interactive Virtual Incident Simulator, which is we call it Call of Duty for firefighters.
Because we're talking about drones for today's show, let's focus on Zephyr Sim.
Okay.
Why is a drone flight simulator necessary?
It's necessary for a couple of different reasons. One is to make sure that you're keeping everyone safe, around your surroundings, in the airspace for other manned vehicles or unmanned vehicles as well. It makes sure that you're protecting your investment. If you don't know how to fly a drone and you go out and fly for the first time, you may have a $1,200 aircraft that you could potentially crash and lose all of your money. So what we do is we have a simulator and you practice, you spend some hours on the simulator and kind of polish your skills, make sure that you're confident on the stick so that you understand what will happen if you do this and what will happen if you do that. So it gives you a good basis of what to expect, and then you can go out and fly and be a little bit more confident when you're flying for your first time.
But how closely can a simulator replicate the real world?
I like to say it's about 95% accurate. So what we have is a pretty accurate physics algorithm, and we adjust it for each of the aircrafts, and then we actually fly the aircraft in real life to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. There may be some slight difference, but for the most part, it's very, very accurate.
Are the simulations different for different drones?
They are. So the physics algorithm includes a bunch of different components. For instance, the RPM that the motors spin at, how large each prop is and how much lift it can generate, how far they are away from the center of the aircraft and how far away from each other. And all of this components build together and create an accurate physics simulation for the software.
I was just thinking, because the simulation is different for each drone, could I sign up for the simulation to test fly a bunch of different drones to decide which drone I want to buy?
Yes, you could. We have about 15 different aircraft in there currently, and each one of them is different. You can fly all of them. We put in the most popular aircraft as they come out. Sometimes it might take us a couple of months after the aircraft is released, but we try to get in the most popular aircraft as they come out.
Based on your experience, what's the hardest thing to simulate?
The most difficult thing is when you reverse the orientation of the aircraft. So when you have the aircraft facing yourself rather than facing away from you, because you have to reverse all of your inputs. So if you move the left or the right stick to the left, the aircraft's actually going to move to the right, and opposite for the other side as well. So it's kind of difficult to get that into your muscle memory and realize that, okay, if my aircraft is facing towards me, then I have to reverse everything. For my opinion, the most difficult part.
I could just imagine. Okay, I'm sitting here, the proud owner of a brand new drone. What do I need to be able to connect into your simulator?
So all you would need is a software license available from our website and also a compatible transmitter or controller to use.
Now, what does that mean, a compatible transmitter or controller?
So we have a list of them on our website, and it's basically just whatever controllers we have able to support in the software. We have a bunch of them that are as like normal drone controllers. You can use an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller as well. It's just any type of controlling device that is compatible with the simulator.
Okay, well, let's assume I'm a first-time drone operator who's clueless, which is just a really good example for me. So I've got this box that I've unpacked the drone in. Does the controller come with the drone? Do I need to buy it separately? And how do I connect it into your system?
So some of the controllers that come with the drones are compatible, some are not. If you have one that's not compatible and you look at the list that we have on our website and don't see yours there, we do offer a bundle that will include a controller that will ship to you as well.
And how are controllers priced? Which gets me to, how is your simulation priced?
So the simulator by itself, our base license is $99. If you want to purchase it with the controller as a bundle, it's $139.
Okay, so totally affordable. We're not talking tens of thousands here.
Mm-hmm.
So I've now connected the controller, and then is the training delivered online? Do you ship me a bunch of downloaded files and I'm running an app? Am I running it on a computer or a mobile device? How does it work?
So it'll be on a computer. We currently don't support mobile devices because it's a pretty graphically intensive software. Once you create your account after you make the purchase on the website, there'll be a download link. So you download directly from our website, and then you'll install it onto your computer. And once you've done that, you're good to go.
Do I need to have an internet connection to be able to run the simulation?
You do. Since we go off of an email and username password type combination, so you have to be able to log into the simulator, and we use the internet to authenticate your account.
Who do you see as your target market? Who's been taking advantage of this so far?
Primarily, it's enterprise customers and institutional clients, for instance, colleges and universities. We also offer a individual version for hobbyists and individual and professional users as well, but primarily it's those in aviation schools and colleges and universities.
What does your training consist of? Is it a single module or is it multiple modules?
We currently have about 35 different training modules within Zephyr. 25 of those are in basic training. So what basic training does is it starts you off in a very simple manner. The first module is very short, and it just has you take off your aircraft, hold your position in a certain altitude, and then that's it. And then we add on one step for each next module as we progress on through the basic training curriculum. It gets a little bit more complex where you have to take off and then land, follow certain areas, following different flight maneuvers, and then we reverse your orientation so that the aircraft is now facing you. So it makes you have to reverse all of your controls as well. We have a couple of different modules that have the orientation reversed to get you in the muscle memory and understanding that all of your inputs will be reversed and what the aircraft will do in respect to that. We kind of tie it all together at the end, and then we have 10 different more advanced modules that kind of encapsulate what you might actually fly in the real world. And then we have some more industry-specific content as well. So we currently have tower inspection modules, and we also have cinematography-focused modules as well.
What do you find the most interesting thing of your job? What keeps you excited about coming into work?
I love being a part of such a new and disruptive industry that's happening, and it may not be as exciting for some other people that are worried about privacy and things like that, but there's a very great use for drones out there for a whole wide spectrum of different industries and capabilities. I love the fact that you don't have to climb up on top of a tower to look at things anymore. You can just fly a drone there. You don't have to rent out a helicopter to be able to get those nice cinematic shots there. You can just charge up your battery and fly your drone. So I think that's really exciting, and it's really great to be a part of this new and prospering industry.
For people that want more information about the simulation and training that Little Arm Studios offers, where can they go on the web?
So our website for Zephyr is www.zephyr-sim.com, and it has a lot of different information that you can access from there and see our product and even get a 30-day free trial.
That website is ZEPHYR, Zephyr-Sim, S-I-M, Zephyr-Sim.com. And Cory Acey is the Business Development Manager for Little Arm Studios. And Cory, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Larry.
Brian Streem is the founder and CEO of Aerobo, a drone services company that specializes in high-end cinematography for film and commercial projects. He founded the company in 2015. Hello, Brian. Welcome.
Hey, Larry. Thanks for having me.
How would you describe Aerobo now that you've been in business for coming close to 4 years?
Sure. So we do high-end aerial cinematography for films, TV shows, commercials. We operate across the country. We've done work in probably 45 states, and have over 500 or 600 customers.
What kind of gear do you fly?
It's anything really. I mean, mostly it's DJI drones. We have some customers want Mavic, some customers want Inspires, some customers. I know next week we're doing a couple of jobs that require heavy lift cameras, so heavy lift drones. So Alexa Minis, Red cameras, things like that.
Does the choice of drone depend upon what you're lifting, or are there other advantages from one drone to another?
Yeah, I mean, it typically we work with the customer to figure out what kind of camera they're using for the ground photography. So we try to match what's on the ground with what's in the air. Obviously, there's some budget and price sensitivity sometimes, but bigger, more expensive cameras require bigger, more expensive drones.
The FAA has been cracking down on drones over the last several years. Do the current FAA drone regulations, the licensure requirements, do they affect you significantly?
It used to be way, way worse. I mean, we were one of the first 10 or so companies in the U.S. to get FAA permission to fly drones, I think in 2015. So back, things have improved 1,000-fold since then. We get way quicker authorization to do stuff. We even fly drones in downtown Los Angeles. There's actually permitting process, to fly drones between buildings. And it used to take a long time to get certain permissions, but now, most of the stuff has been streamlined, and there's a process to kind of do almost anything. Of course, there's still certain things you can't do, though.
Well, we've learned that drones can cause a ton of damage if they're not flown properly. James reported on that on the news today, where somebody, I can't remember, flew a drone into the wing of an aircraft as a test and did significant damage, which means you've got to pick good pilots to fly your drones. How do you choose who your pilots are?
Yeah, so our pilots. We have a world champion drone pilot who's on our staff. In single rotor helicopters, which are actually way harder to fly than drones. And we put people through training, and they have more experience than, if they're on these large jobs. And also, typically the jobs that we're doing for aerial cinematography, the pilots seem to be really sharp and well trained and have a lot of experience, and also under, high pressure, high intensity situations. But we're also not typically flying drones above, maybe 100 or 200 feet. A lot of the stuff that we do for clients, they kind of want that aesthetic and that look where it's, just above a crane, or it's just above, any other way to kind of get the shot. So we're typically not flying high enough to hit a plane or hit a helicopter, but for sure it's something we have to be conscious of.
One of the things I read on your website was a blog about women drone pilots. Are you finding women are becoming more and more interested in flying drones, or have they always been interested?
There's definitely less for whatever reason, there's definitely been less female pilots that we've encountered. We have worked with a couple of them, but for whatever industry, for whatever reason, most pilots tend to come from kind of like an RC background, and for whatever reason, that's been a male-dominated thing. We have worked with some pilots who, do love flying drones, though, but we could use more female pilots for sure.
Last week, the FAA allowed private companies such as DJI to approve flights into restricted airspace. From your perspective, was this a good or a bad idea?
I don't know. I don't know so much about what they allowed, but I think that I think they're a good. Regulation is a good thing. Typically, there's obviously some sort of line, and it all just kind of comes down to like where you draw the line. Everything we do driving in cars is regulated. Medicine is regulated. I mean, as you mentioned, it can be dangerous, and there should be certain places where you can't fly drones and certain places in which you shouldn't be able to fly drones most of the time unless, certain precautions are made.
On your website, I have the greatest fun reading the blogs on your website. You've got some really nice articles, and one of them is we're redesigning camera flight, which in it you state that drones are not built for filmmakers. What do you mean by this, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, so people are often weirded out when I go to parties and I tell them that I have a drone company, but I actually don't know how to fly drones. I actually my background. I went to NYU Film School, so I actually don't care. I don't know how to fly drones. I don't care to learn how to fly drones. The whole thing is people don't care about flying the drone. People care about moving the camera through space. So it's kind of unfair that you have to have a sophisticated drone pilot and a talented camera operator who need to intuit each other's thoughts on how to get something aesthetically pleasing. So my company has developed some augmented reality drone software called Vermeer, which essentially solves this problem. Instead of the drone flying the camera flies the drone. So the software works on all iPhones, works on all DJI drones. And essentially, you are looking at in 3D at an augmented reality, miniature location of the Earth where you want to fly your drone. And then you kind of move your phone around as if the screen of your phone is the camera of what the drone's going to see. And you kind of just move it around this augmented reality world. So it takes no skill. It really just kind of allows the artist, if you will, to move the camera wherever he or she wants. And right now, the software is rolled out in a bunch of people, and we'll be releasing it publicly shortly.
Well, one of the things I've discovered as I look at more home movies than I want to admit watching is that nobody can hold a cell phone steady. And yet to be able to get a good drone shot, you have to have a nice, smooth movement. Are you smoothing out the movement of the cell phone so that the drone doesn't jerk all over the sky? Yeah,
there's some interpolation that we do. So essentially, the software interprets, what you're intending to do along a certain degree. It's kind of a little half art, half science. And then you're able to get, really beautiful, clean, smooth-looking footage. So we do half the work, and then of course the drone, just how stable it is in the air. I mean, if anybody's ever flown a drone, they could see that the drone is also just in the sky, getting pounded by wind, and the footage still looks smooth remarkably. So it's kind of half of us and half the drone and the gimbal itself.
This doesn't replace the pilot, does it?
Yeah, it kind of does, and that's kind of the point. Is that in order, people don't want to fly the drones. People just want to capture. They want to move cameras. So you shouldn't need to have the technical piloting skills and need to control a drone with these two joysticks or these four joysticks if you're doing it with two people. It's really whenever you watch cinematographers and DPs and directors talk about shots, what do? The cliche is they put their hands forward in a little box and they push. They move their hands forward as if they're simulating what they envision the shot to look like in their brain, and that's exactly what the software does. We're simulating in augmented reality 3D, the camera movement. And now instead of just your hands doing it, we're actually making your hands do it. And then the robotic flying camera essentially mimics what your hands did.
But it seems to me that now the FAA is going to want to get involved if you take the pilot out of the loop. Are you going to have to get clearance from them to run the software?
So I believe you still need there still needs to be when I use the term pilot, I mean somebody who's technically skilled, but you will still need, to my understanding, a Part 107 license. You could call that person a pilot, but at this point, the person is more of just kind of like a person who delivers the drone and then, pushes, go on an iPhone and supervises the drone.
It's going to be an exciting time when you get it to work. For people who want more information about Vermeer, which is your new software that you're working on, or other Aerobo services, where can they go on the web?
Sure. If you want to sign up for the software, it's getvermeer.com, and Aerobo is aerobo.com. And I hope you take a look at the software, and looking forward to hearing from everybody.
That website is getvermeer, GETVERMEER, getvermeer.com. And the Aerobo website is Aerobo, AEROBO, aerobo.com. And Brian Streem is the CEO of Aerobo. And Brian, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Larry.
Bye-bye. I want to introduce you to a new website, Thalo.com. Thalo is an artist community and networking site for creative people to connect, be inspired, and showcase their creativity. Thalo.com features content from around the world with a global perspective on all things creative. Thalo is the place for creative folks to learn, collaborate, market, and sell their works. Thalo is a part of Thalo Arts, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with the resources you need to succeed. Visit Thalo.com and discover how their community can help you connect, learn, and succeed. That's Thalo.com. Jason Teichman is the CEO of Pond 5, the world's largest collection of royalty-free stock video. As CEO, Jason is focused on helping artists monetize their media and making it easy for creators to find the content they need. Hello, Jason. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Pond 5 is well known to many of us for their huge library of royalty-free images and video. But before we start talking about drones, what's the difference between royalty-free and free?
Royalty-free really speaks to the unrestricted license that we provide our users. When you license content under a royalty-free license, which is what we provide, that basically means that the fee you pay gives you the right to use it however you want across all mediums, all formats, all regions, without an additional royalty due to the company. Thus the term royalty-free.
We pay for it one time and then we're able to use it again.
Exactly. Free content, we don't have anything that's free because that wouldn't be fair to the filmmakers who spend a lot of time and money to make it.
Tonight, we're talking about drones, and Pond 5 recently developed a new section on their website providing drone footage. Tell us about this new section.
Just to take a step back for a second, and one of the things that we saw from the buyers coming to our marketplace was that drone footage shot from an aerial perspective, was one of the most in-demand content types and queries on our marketplace by far. And it was no surprise because when you think about what drones provide, filmmakers access to is they can now, capture footage in places and things and situations that before the, drones became popular were either uneconomical or too expensive or dangerous or just practically impossible to get. So what we've undertaken is an effort to make it really easy for customers to find aerial footage and drone footage on Pond 5.
How's it been? Has it been popular, or is it still growing?
Well, drone footage overall is by far and away our fastest growing category of content on the site. So from that perspective, it's been very, very popular. And then, what we're starting to do is, create, special collections of drone footage that elevate, some of the highest level of craftsmanship and filmmaking within, the drone community. And that's what you see with the collections we've created with DJI. And then beyond that, what you'll see us announce soon is not only filters that identify footage from an aerial perspective versus a terrestrial perspective, but you'll also see us begin to identify filmmakers who have the appropriate licensure to operate a drone for the purposes of shooting commercial content.
In other words, you're going to make a differentiation between licensed drones and unlicensed drones?
That's right.
Why?
Well, it's interesting. It's important to operate these, this machinery compliant with local law, and just as a human being, I'd like to know that the people flying these things that aren't too light above my head know what they're doing, and making sure that the people who operate the machinery are licensed to do so safely is important. The way we view our marketplaces, we want to help the filmmakers who are investing the time and the money to make sure that they get the appropriate training and safety stand out. And B, we also want to help buyers who are required and want to make sure they're compliant with local laws and regulations regarding the licensure of drone aircraft. Like the regs on drone footage are complicated. We're taking the first stab at making sure that people can find licensed flyers. But, this is a fast evolving area that we're going to be monitoring carefully because it's kind of the new frontier, if you will. And government's catching up, and we're trying to do our part by making it easier for people to comply.
From the point of view of a media creator, is there a difference between these licensed versus unlicensed footage? Are there regulations that are involved here that they need to pay attention to? Or is it really just a matter of awareness and training and public safety?
It is a complicated issue that continues to evolve. Technically, I'll use the U.S. market as an example. The regs differ country by country, but within the U.S. market specifically, you need to obtain what's called an FAA Part 107 license if you're going to operate a drone commercially, meaning that you're operating the drone for the purpose of generating commercial income off that. That's a federal law that the drone operator needs to comply with. And, of course, those that outsource that work to the drone operators will want to comply with that as well. So it is a regulation that businesses are going to want to comply with, as they would want to comply with any other regulation that is set forth, by the local government, or the federal government. There are other laws and regulations that are important to be aware of. Many of them have to do with the location in which the drone is being operated within, and it's important to know those because the fines and penalties can be real.
Because you're in the process of reselling footage that you didn't shoot, what documentation do you need from a drone operator who's uploading footage that they had either that they're regulated, that they're licensed, and that they had permission to be shooting where they were shooting?
That's a good question. So the first phase of work that we're doing is filtering drone operators for their licensure. And what we're asking for is, the appropriate credentials from the drone operator that allow us to validate whether or not they have a license. And that's where we're starting. And our sincere hope is that if you're licensed to operate a commercial drone, that you, by definition, are more aware of the local requirements necessary to, within each jurisdiction to operate that drone, like going into commercial aircraft, going into public areas. What we're trying to do is make sure that the people who are providing this footage are licensed and thus much more likely to comply and be aware of the local ordinances. The second phase, which is a pretty massive undertaking, which is how do you know whether or not someone did the right thing? At this moment, we're relying on the fact that they're licensed and credentialed to operate the aircraft commercially.
It strikes me that this is a lot more fraught with potential problems than typical reselling of stock footage.
It's like anything else. If it's operated by a professional who takes their craft seriously and knows what they're doing, there's less risk. Our sense is this is the same situation as well. But at a minimum, that's why we're trying to make sure that the people who provide this footage are properly credentialed.
Are you going to price footage from licensed versus unlicensed drone operators differently?
At Pond 5, we let our filmmakers set the price. So our sense is those that are properly credentialed will be able to command a premium, but we ultimately let the filmmaker decide what they want to charge for their footage.
For media creators who have not yet purchased from Pond 5, how do they access drone footage?
Oh, it's very easy. If you go to Pond 5, we're basically like YouTube. So you type in what you're looking for, and whatever you see on Pond 5, you can license royalty-free for whatever project it is that you're looking for that content.
And if we create drone footage, what do we need to do for Pond 5 to resell it for us?
Very simply, you go to Pond 5, you create a contributor account. We'll ask you a bunch of information to validate, you are who you say you are. To the extent you have any, if you are credentialed and have a license, we'll ask you for that information as well. Once you go through that screening process, you upload your content, and we'll tag it for you, and it'll be published to the marketplace within about 3 or 4 days.
Which gets me to the best question, which is where can people find all the best royalty-free footage?
Oh, of course, on Pond 5.
And that website is POND, the number 5, pond5.com. And Jason Teichman is the CEO of Pond 5. And Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me, Larry.
I was just thinking, when drones first appeared, filmmakers gaffer-taped cameras to these small flying machines and started creating footage the like of which we've never seen before. 2 years ago, I remember the drone cages at NAB, where dozens of drones were showing off their flying skills. Drones and drone companies were everywhere. Everywhere. Including drones interfering with firefighting operations in California, chasing commercial aircraft landings on the East Coast, even flying under moving freight trains to take close-ups of the wheels rolling on the rails. This kind of stupid, dangerous behavior led to a serious anti-drone and privacy backlash. So many people were flying drones so unsafely that federal regulations were established to restrict and control these drone flights. The FAA required drone pilots to be licensed. You heard reference to this tonight as a Part 107 license. This regulation requires people flying drones either recreationally or commercially to understand and abide by federal flight regulations. As well, as Patrick Santucci mentioned, drone manufacturers have made their drones GPS aware to prevent them from flying too high or into reserved airspace. Finally, companies like Pond 5 are flagging footage so that media creators who want to use drone footage in their projects can instantly see if it was shot by someone who is licensed and following the rules. It takes a lot of work to compensate for idiots. But drones have so much capability, not just for filmmakers, but for anyone needing to explore a remote site, that it makes sense to reward the teams that take their responsibilities seriously. Just something I'm thinking about. I want to thank our guests this week, Patrick Santucci with DJI, Cory Acey with Little Arms Studio, Brian Streem with Aerobo Drone Services, Jason Teichman with Pond 5, and James DeRuvo with doddleNEWS.com. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Here you'll find thousands of interviews, all online and all available to you today. And remember to sign up for our free weekly show newsletter that comes out every Saturday morning. Talk with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Our theme music is composed by Nathan Dookie Turner, with additional music provided by smartsound.com. Our producer is Debbie Price. My name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for listening to the Digital Production Buzz. The Digital Production Buzz is copyright 2018 by Thalo LLC.